Jaret and Daniel from Twitter. They're so good.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 6 of the BFS fan page Rampage. I'm Daniel Cotton from Twitter, or if you're from England, I'm Daniel Cotton from Twitter. And this is Jaret Reddick. Hi Jaret.
Hey man, how are you? It's so funny because that's so true. It's absolutely. But isn't it certain places in the United Kingdom that would say Twitter? Is it like Twitter?
Yeah, so well, that's more an accent thing because I would still say Twitter.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I got you. It's sort of like us when we say, like, we drink water. You know, like
water.
There's a D in there. Water. I was speaking to Linus of Hollywood the other day, and he got a cat, and he was hitting the T's really hard, like I've got a kitten, and because we would say it almost more like UK-ish. We would say kitten.
Yeah.
Kitten. I guess I would say kitten. So I'm from Texas, so I would say kitten, which is basically like kitten. They just leave out the E, kitten. And then some people might say kitten. I got a kitten. That's really UK-ish.
I know a huge mind-blowing Jaret Goes to the Movies thing was when I found out that Kiddie Corner, that whole thing, whatever that is, that was insane to me.
Yeah, Kitty Corner is the same as saying Catty Corner. But, excuse me, I got to get some oxygen. It's early in the day here. It's been moving a little bit slow. I've literally sat at my computer all day today, doing nothing but Bowling for Soup and Not Your Girlfriend stuff, and it's like this never-ending pile, which is good. It's good to be busy, and, shit's good, Daniel. Shit's good. What are we doing today in the BFS fan page Rampage?
Well, first things first, is there anything new to talk about Bowling for Soup-wise? Is there anything new from you?
Well, I can tell you this. I can say that, first of all, Warped Tour was amazing. I don't know, is this the time to talk about that, or do we talk about that later?
Can do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, you came over, and our crowds were just insane. Last Warped Tour ever. There's yawn number 2. On Jaret Goes to the Movies, I'm allowed 4 yawns in the first part of the show, so that's only 2 here. But I could really feel my lungs opening up. Man, Warped was amazing. It was hot. The crowds were so insane, but the big thing is that the camaraderie was back. You know, like the whole, like all the bands hanging out and stuff, and you were there for 3 or 4 days, so you got to see that, at least the beginning of it. By the end of the tour, it was just like the Bowling for Soup tent was the place to be, and that's where everybody was, and as is pretty much with everything that we do. So just an amazing time, and so thanks to everybody who came out to see us at Warped Tour, the final one. And we're already talking about next summer. So if you're wondering what you're going to do next summer without your if you're in the U.S. and wondering what you're going to do without your Bowling for Soup stuff or sighting, or I just lost my train of thought. Your Bowling for Soup fix. We will be on tour next summer, and it's going to be insanely huge. 25th anniversary, and I'm excited about that. Other things coming up, my September tour is almost here. I'm super stoked. Dolly Rot's coming with me, and Lacey, doing 5 shows in the UK, and then 4 shows in mainland Europe. No, 3 shows in mainland Europe. So I'm excited about that. It's been a long time since I've been to Europe. I guess this is one of those things that just proves that I'm not just like a money hungry asshole, because if I wanted to, if it was all about the money, I'd just stay in the UK where I know people would show up. And instead, I'm going to Europe, and I've sold like 20 tickets to each show. But still, fuck it. It's going to be fun. We get to go to Germany and Belgium and Holland, and, we're going to have a good time. You're going with me, Daniel. It's going to be great.
That's right. And I think, if anything, it means you can be more drunk during the show, because who are they going to tell?
Well, that's true. But the one thing is I don't remember if they can understand me when I talk. That's number 3. But, I think they can. I mean, I seem to remember that we just sort of did our show kind of like we do in Japan, and if they don't understand, then they just nod. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get back over there. and do that. And plus, I'm Heartache and Hilarity 2 TOO, so I'm doing new songs and new stories. Not new songs, like different songs, different stories, and that's gonna be cool. And then it's gonna be cool to hear the Dolly Rots play acoustic. Me and Kelly will be playing stuff from our upcoming album, which, by the way, the pre-sale for that will be launching in the next couple weeks. So stoked! We're trying to get that out by Thanksgiving, or in and around Thanksgiving. That's the plan. We have a lot of work to do, but we'll be in the studio next week doing some updates, and then again in 2 weeks in LA recording the thing. So that's good. And then in other BFS news, we've got some shows that we're booking in the fall and starting to look towards next summer, like I said, of touring. I'll just tell you that there's talk of festivals in the UK next summer, which is always good news for our friends over there. So never a dull moment. And now starting to consider going back in the studio and what it is we'll do. You know, we've talked about this, I think, on the fan page Rampage before, whether we would do new material or a covers record or songs people actually liked volume 2 or something else. The cool thing about being, having 19 albums and being around 25 years is we got a lot of ideas that we haven't gotten to do yet. And we're just going to go do them. So anyway, that's pretty much Bowling for Soup in a nutshell, With me, the only thing I would like to add is Not Your Girlfriend's album is being mixed right now. They're a band that I manage and produce, co-write with. They're insanely awesome. Check them out, NOTURGIRLFRENZ. So new video for them coming out in the next week or so. Album set to drop early October. And excited about that, man. Trying to get them over there to the UK sometime soon. And, with that, of course, comes logistics. I can't really talk too much about it, but just doing anything in your country is a pain in the ass. So, like, trying to get children to come over there and play a rock show, you can just imagine, even though their parents are going to be with us, kind of thing. But it is what it is. I understand that it's, every place has their rules. I'm sure it's a pain in the ass to get over here too. So my experience though is just getting out of this country and into yours for the most part, because I gave up on Canada. Fuck that place. Like it's too hard to get in there. Seriously, it's like prison break every time you go over. It's like you gotta fucking survive in the woods for 7 days and shit before you can sell a t-shirt. Then you're just like, and then by the time you get there, you've lost 20 pounds, which would be good for me now. Like maybe I should go to Canada, come back, fucking lean, mean, fighting machine. We'll just see what happens. But
I'm just imagining you guys riding in on like the back of a moose. Like we have merch, guys.
Right. Just what is the? Okay, that's 4. Hopefully that's it. What's the movie where the Brendan Fraser's on the horse or the mount? He's like a mountie or something. I can't remember what that is. It's like a famous cartoon. Anyway, I guess it wasn't that good. Yeah, everybody misses.
I don't know. You're the movie podcast guy. That's not me.
Everybody misses Brendan Fraser. And so I should plug a couple of things actually going on. And was this part of this segment? Is it just everything that's going on with me and Bowling for Soup?
What's going on? Yeah.
Or am I fucking up your flow?
No, go for it.
Okay, so what I am saying, what I want to say is, Jaret Goes to the Movies podcast, still doing amazing. If you've tried it before and you didn't like it, try it again. Because I'm going to tell you this, it's a fucking good podcast. Gary and I are launching a new podcast this month. Hopefully, we're meeting on Saturday. We've got like all of our ducks in a row, theme songs done, all this stuff, just a little bit of logistics happening. Hopefully, we can launch this thing. It's called the Rockstar Dad Podcast. It's already on Facebook, so go give us a like, please. Rockstar Dad Podcast, we are going to talk about being dads, and that's what it's going to be about. We're going to talk to other dads who are also rock stars, and that's just it. It's just about being a normal dad. We just happen to be really fucking famous. And so it's less about like our life on tour and more about like what it's like maybe like if we're on tour and what's going on at home and how that balances out, but also really just what it's like when we're home and just normal stuff. I mean, he's got a 1-year-old and a 7-year-old. I have a 5, 12, and 15-year-old. So we kind of run the whole gamut of child having. So that's the plan, and we're super excited about it. I think it's gonna be really fun. So we'll have some different features on it, and that's gonna happen. And then, obviously, you're listening to the fan page Rampage. That's 3, Daniel. 3 podcasts. I'm fucking killing it. Killing it right
That's
now.
right.
That's right.
That's right. I just want to say for anyone listening, if you think that the being really famous joke that Jaret makes a lot is some kind of bit that he does for podcasts and shows, it's not. He just says that all the time. in private, when it's just you in the room,
Yeah.
he just says that all the fucking time.
It's my favorite go-to thing because I like to do it in front of like people who don't really know me that well, because it's just like you say, like you just wonder, like, are people going, is he fucking serious? Like, does he just he just talks like that all the time, like about how fucking famous he is? And yeah, I do. I just that's
What a dick.
It's one of my favorite moves. One of my favorite moves. But you are right, Daniel. I overuse it on purpose.
I love it.
And I don't fucking tiptoe around that shit. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it that's going on, you know. Oh, no, I will say this. Bowling for Soup DVD that we filmed February, as promised, we are going to get it out this year. We wanted to have it out by summer. Obviously, shit always happens. We ended up touring a lot more than we wanted to. We had some wackiness with the editing. It had nothing to do with anybody involved, like the company that did it or with us or anything like that. I'm going to leave it at that. We regrouped. I just saw the final, what I feel like is going to be the final edit of it. The audio is amazing. We literally took it right off the board from the show. What you fucking heard is what you get. We just mixed it down so that it sounds good on a car stereo and not just like in your face at 110 decibels. And I'm super excited about it. I mean, it's weird to like, you know, the last DVD we made was 2007 and I was like fucking really skinny and like super hot and shit. Now I'm like really fat and old, and I mean, that part's weird. But once you get past the first couple of songs, you kind of forget, you know, and then it's fucking great. But really funny show. John Smith, who did the production, did an amazing job, and it comes across so well on the DVD. I mean, it's like we had this huge light board behind us, and it's literally like it looks like it's in 3D. Like as stuff floats forward, it's like it's coming out of thin. It's just the craziest shit. So I'm actually really excited about it. Older, Fatter, Still the Greatest Ever. It is on for pre-sale right now, and you can get like I think there's some pre-sale packages and stuff that you can get, and I think it's cheaper if you get it now. But we will 100% have a final release date for that in the coming days, weeks. So that's exciting, you know, another little bit of stuff that we've got. And then I have been getting asked a lot about the piano albums. I gave the fan page a few tracks off the piano records at Christmas time. We have 2 full albums completely done of that, and I really, really want to get it out there. It just kind of keeps taking a back seat to other things that are, you know, a little bit more broadly accepted, I guess you would say, because I really do feel like the piano records are going to be more of like a really hardcore fan thing. So anyway, understand that it's all gonna get out there as soon as we can, and lots going on, Daniel. That is it for BFS and me.
Well, that's the most updates we've had ever. Let's quickly throw over to Fiona, who's going to announce the poster of the month for the fan page.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, Jaret.
Hello there. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Things are going awesome on the page. I was at trivia night last night, and one of my neighbors was like, "Man, your fans on the fan page are excited about September."
Oh my god, yes. Love it.
So, and me too. So, guess we can kind of, you know, I mean, I don't know. So, basically, we're hoping that these fan meetups are going to be awesome this year. And so, I'm going to give you some news in the next, like, day or two.
Oh, awesome.
To give to everybody else that's coming out. And we will have locations and some tidbits and some fun. And some exciting stuff and something that we've never tried.
Yeah, everyone's really looking forward to that.
Right. Something we've never tried before, and maybe something that might become a little bit more of a thing. And then might have some more UK news in the coming weeks for Bowling for Soup fans. So exciting stuff happening in the UK and and in the US. Let's not forget our US peeps. You know, I mean, they're the backbone of Bowling for Soup. You guys are the front bone of Bowling for Soup.
That sounds wrong.
But we've been talking about the U.S. stuff already. So anyway, so what do we got going on?
Okay, if you want to announce who the poster of the month is on the fan page.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this one goes to Dave Marlowe for his giveaways of spare tour posters and always being one of the first people to welcome new members and just for being generally awesome to everyone.
That dude came to the acoustic show last year, and I don't know if I'd ever met him before, and maybe if I had, it had been a long time.
He's hilarious.
But he sang every word to every song, and it was one of the smaller venues, so like everybody was like right in front of me. And I mean, he sang every word to every single song and had the time of his life and just made me smile the whole time and has since, obviously been super active on the fan page. And
definitely.
So he deserves this moment and some prizes in the mail. And, gosh, man, it's just so cool to see how active the fan page is, the thing that the community you've created over there, Fiona, and just all of the peeps that are on there all the time, making sure that people's questions get answered, and it's more than just a BFS thing. It's just
it never seems to slow down either. I mean, obviously it picks up more when you're touring, but it just never seems to slow down. It's always super busy.
Yeah, and it's just it's awesome for us too. I mean, it's very interesting when like Gary doesn't really get into a lot of that kind of thing, but when he's on there and like answering questions and stuff, that you guys have made an impact on us. Even just it means a lot to us.
Oh, thanks.
But so yes, well, I will be speaking to you via email or Facebook in the coming days to let everybody know what's going on. And
excited about that.
Until then, I will see you in September.
See you in September.
Sounds good,
Lovely.
Fiona. Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So let's quickly talk about Bowling for Soup in the news. Mainly, it's Warped Tour reviews, and I've already touched on Warped Tour, and there's a few questions at the end about that from the fans, so let's not cover any of that. First thing to talk about is a website called popbuzz.com. I've done an article. I don't know if you've heard about this. The song Hey There Delilah is being turned into a TV show, and they've created a list of 11 songs that would make way better TV shows than Hey There Delilah.
Oh, wow.
And number 5 on the list is 1985 by Bowling for Soup. And they have said, an hour-long drama at AMC about a woman finding herself again after leaving her CPA husband and heading west to Hollywood. Bruce Springsteen makes an early season 1 cameo.
See, I would have said High School Never Ends. Like, I think you could make a TV show out of that, and in the same vein as like how that whole, I think I've talked about this before, but I know I have, but maybe not on here, but. Like the movie Freaky Friday, like that movie's been redone like 5 times, but it's the same movie. They just do it a little bit differently. So it's like, you wake up and you're in somebody else's body or whatever the fuck, or a Groundhog Day where it's the same day every day. I think High School Never Ends could be like that, like where you just sort of like wake up and you're just always in high school, and it's just another whole thing, and you make it hilarious, and I play myself, And it's just like me in a high school, a bunch of high school kids and shit. But like I think I'm their, or they think I'm their age, And we should pitch that. No, I didn't know. I didn't know about that article.
Play yourself, right?
Say again.
Just saying the priority there was that you play yourself because you're really famous. So.
Famous as shit. I'd be a good draw for the show, Good.
So that was actually going to be my question: is if you had to pick a Bowling for Soup song, what would it be? So there we go.
That would be it.
You've given this some thought. Also, the Alt Press covered that TLE team up with Bowling for Soup frontman for their new single "Kids Eat Free."
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. The guys approached me, and it was real out of the blue, and they were just like, "Hey, we're making this album, and it's we're fathers, and we're just gonna talk about like kids stuff, and being dads, and I'm into that kind of thing. Like I really want to do a Bowling for Soup kids record or a Jaret Reddick kids record or something, and so obviously I got on board and." They did all the work, man. They sent me the track. It was already written. I just sang my shit and sent it in. There's already a video for it, so just search for Kids Eat Free. And it came out really cool. I mean, they're great. So it's been really cool to see all of the exposure that thing's already gotten. So good for them, and happy to be a part of it for sure.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't heard that song, the band is called TLE, and the song's called Kids Eat Free, and it's hilarious. And I think they are listed as unofficially official dad rock, something like that.
I love it.
And it's super funny. My one question with that, because the whole song is about a shitty kids restaurant.
Right.
Could you not get in trouble for that? Like, is there not a particular kids restaurant that might be pissed about?
No, that's not what it's about. It's about how just regular restaurants bait you in to come in on Tuesdays. It's a big thing here in the States. Kids eat free on Tuesdays, and they give them like a choice of like 4 or 5 things, and they get a couple of crayons and some shit, and then you pay regular price for your meal and all that. So that's kind of the thing, is like, who's it free for is what they're saying. Like, I actually don't have a problem with the Kids Eat Free on Tuesdays. Like me and my ex used to take full advantage of that back in the day. So it's not as, now that like 2 of my children are too old to eat off of that menu, and they're pretty strict about it, and it's kind of like you guys when like it's above 14 at shows or whatever, and I'm like, how the fuck do they know if you're 14 or not? But they will question you there in here. So. But yeah, man, it was fun to be a part of it, and no, I don't think my boss, the mousy boss, would really give me any grief over this one. I think he'd be more happy that I'm singing about those restaurants and steering people towards where you can get a very economical meal and have the time of your life and leave with a nice prize. I've completely thrown you for a loop.
When did the corporate suits take over this podcast? Oh my god! This day in Bowling for Soup history, the 8th of August 2009, the My Weena EP was released. I don't know if that's UK or US. The iTunes dates are all messed up, but on Facebook at least, it's the first day you announced it. So, any memories of that? Why those songs got chosen? Why you would choose 2 B-sides when B-sides aren't really the done thing anymore?
B-sides were kind of still a thing then, and the thing was that we were still going in it. That was sort of like the crossroads, actually, where B-sides didn't stopped mattering as much, because digital was catching up with the fact that you had to release 5 different albums, to get people to buy it. So for those that don't know, like the reason why you would do like a Japanese version and a UK version and a US version is basically just to get those people to buy your album. Otherwise and you would offer free tracks. So we'd save 1 track for Japan and 2 tracks for the UK, and then there would be the US version, and we'd have a couple of B-sides that we would throw on, and just, that was just the way things were done. As things have become just a digital world where when you release your album, everybody gets it on the same day, that's sort of out the window. So those were kind of the days where that was beginning to be a thing. And so we had recorded 19 songs for Sorry for Partying. So we had the tracks, and there were definitely tracks that weren't going to make it, and definitely tracks that I wanted the world to hear. I can't remember what the B-sides were. Was one of them Goodbye Friend?
Yeah, goodbye, friend, and I'll always remember you that way.
Yeah, so there's the hilarity. That's some Jaret Reddick shit right there. That's like, they're like, we want to release this as a single. We'll put 2 B-sides on it. And so I put like the most depressing ballad of all time on the silliest song we've ever done. Ever. And like, and the bounce back from that, from the Suits or whatever, was just like, I mean, we really don't care what you do, but are you sure this is what you want? And I'm just like, yes, this is what I want. So yeah, that was cool. I mean, the biggest thing about My Weena is that we had this great song and we went and did this video, and the whole time the industry was so new again to viral video and things like that, because this is 2009 when this came out, and right, that's what you said, 2009.
Yeah.
And that's right, because so the label, they were so brilliant because they were just like, let's go make a viral video. And this is back in the day where people just thought they could make a viral video, so we go and spend all this money on this 7-foot penis costume and make this video in Gary's neighborhood and really put a lot of thought into it, and it did come out really good, but it did not go viral, and go figure. However, like, my little cousin just went viral this week from getting woken up by a puppy. So just a little baby laying there, a little puppy licking her on Facebook or whatever. That's my cousin. Fucking weird. Went viral this week, like 1 million views in 2 days. Unbelievable.
People love puppies and not dicks. It's weird. I don't get it.
No, I think you're right. I think puppies will definitely always come in one above dicks. For sure.
Yeah. The thing I remember about that EP is that only UK guys, I guess, will remember this, was that the EP was released in the UK as part of something called a Party in Your Pants sampler, which was for the Sorry for Partying tour. And if you bought your tickets through Ticketmaster, you got that. Not that there's been a hostile takeover of the corporations we work for on this podcast, but if you bought your tickets through Ticketmaster exclusively, you got that kind of, it was like an EP, but a cross-band EP for all the bands that were playing on that tour.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
That was kind of my first insight into new Bone for Soup music, because I hadn't really listened to anything for 10 years. So
yeah, that's right. The Party in Your Pants tour, and we did do that sampler. I forgot all about that. Yeah, that was genius marketing by us. We fucking did it, guys.
It was. And, I think the cool thing about that is you show up, and even if you didn't know the support band before, if you bought a ticket to the show, then you know at least 3 songs by each support band when you get there. So
there you go.
Shit.
There you go.
Question is, what is Jaret listening to right now?
What is Jaret listening to right now? I'm still in a little bit of a country phase. I think I mentioned Raylan last time we were talking on the BFS fan page, Rampage, and me and my daughter are still listening to her quite a bit. I'm listening to a shitload of podcasts, Daniel, a shitload. I listened to a couple of new ones. In the Dark, Season 2, I'm listening to right now. Southern Nightmare, which is really good. And obviously my favorite is Sword and Scale. But, if I'm in the car, that's what I'm listening to. I just absolutely love it. But I'm also doing like some throwback stuff. I'm going and I'm just like putting no effects on Pandora and just seeing what happens, and that's always fun to do. And I'll pick an artist. So lately I went over to Gary's the other day for his daughter's birthday party, and he was listening to, oh shit, that's 5 yards. 5 yards. He was listening to a Old 97 station. Old 97's band from here, huge like alt country band. And there's this band called Sunvolt, and I'd completely forgotten about this band Sunvolt. And they're so fucking good. And apparently, so Uncle Tupelo was the band, and they split off into Wilco and Sunvolt. I'm not a huge Wilco guy. But so I've been listening to a bunch of that kind of stuff, like putting on, just like picking a band that I haven't listened to in a while and putting it on their Pandora station and seeing how that goes. And it's been working for me. It's nice to go back, sort of revisit some stuff that you haven't listened to in a while, and think about those days in the van when we had to select CDs, and if you were driving, you were the one that got to pick the music, and that there's yeah, I've told you before how cool I think music is for being able to just make you sort of just sense and smell and feel like you're back 10 years ago. It's just crazy how it can just really bring in like every emotion, and so I've been enjoying doing that. But that's pretty much what I've been listening to these days.
Awesome. Bowling for Soup on TV. Just want to hear about filming Cursed.
Oh man, Cursed was so awesome. So the first thing is you just basically hear you're going to be in this Wes Craven movie, and you first you're thinking Nightmare on Elm Street and all that shit, and it's like, dude, this is going to be crazy. And so the song was already picked out for us to do. We were going to do a cover of Little Red Riding Hood. We got to work with a producer which was interesting because we don't really work with outside producers unless it's like somebody who's producing with me. But we went in and we recorded it, and one night we had a lot of fun doing it. Wes Craven actually came by the studio and heard it, and that was cool. Hung out with him for a while. I mean, this is before camera phones, so it sucks because I think we have a photo somewhere of it, but I mean, it could be on a fucking disposable camera in a drawer somewhere, you never find it. But the movie was great. I mean, we got treated really well. Jesse Eisenberg was in that movie, and he was a little kid at the time. And I remember they brought him by the trailer, and we were in there just drinking beers and shit, and like he wasn't allowed to come back anymore. And so that was a thing. But yeah, I mean, we did our scene, and Shannon Elizabeth walked right by, and we would be playing the song, and she walked by, and then she was the first scene in the movie, which was us, and then Shannon Elizabeth being killed under a bridge. So, there's a lot of historic aspects to that for us, nostalgic aspects of it. I mean, it was cool that we got to set up and play a show on the Santa Monica Pier. Not a show, but play that song over and over. Just being in that movie with those peeps, and then being directed by Wes Craven was cool. And then just now that it's like this odd sort of cult classic, because it's people kind of consider it one of those movies that's so bad that it's great kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, and I get checks for 1 to 3 cents a month off that. And I'm not joking. If you think I'm kidding, fucking challenge me on it, and I'll fucking post a photo of one. Because they're really funny. I get these checks from like that and Crossroads, and really everything. You get these just crazy 1 cent checks all the time, and it's just like, this is such a fucking sham, because it cost 20 times more to mail this than it does. You know what I mean? And that it's not worth the paper that it's on. And what is happening? Why don't you just save the thing until I have like $10 saved up, and then send me $10? But what are you gonna do? So sometimes I deposit them, and sometimes I fucking forget, and it's like it gets past the 180 days or whatever, and I'm like, should I try and deposit this 3 cents? And then I don't. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. No, but it was really great. It was super fun doing that, and we had a great time. And I've talked about movies before. I mean, doing a movie, and especially back in the day, just the amount of money that they spend on these things with just the catering and just how well you get treated, all that. I mean, I understand that that's a dying thing now too, that everybody's going into lower budget shit. But man, just to be able to see that and be a part of it was pretty fucking great.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Next thing is the story behind the song, and I just want to clarify that this is voted for by the fan page, so please nobody message me and say, well, I already knew that story and blah, 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 because I didn't vote for this, okay?
Right.
People want to hear about the story behind Belgium.
Ah, okay, sure. Now, Belgium is an Eric Chandler song. I mean, originally an Eric Chandler song that he brought in, and he brought in the parts to it, and we finished it, in a night. And back in the day, first of all, all of our songs were like word association games. So I've talked to you about that before, about how, really until you get past Let's Do It for Johnny, the song titles really might not make a lot of sense to you, first 5 albums. But this one is that I really did honestly think New Zealand was in Europe. And so we used to have this joke that we would say all the time, and I think other bands say this. I don't know that we created this, but you know, we'd be on the road and people were like, "How's it going?" And you know, that we would always say, "Well, we're really big in Belgium," you know, and so that's how the song got called Belgium. It became just this, it was kind of a joke. But he wrote that song about he was dating a girl who had come home from school. And she was going to school in New Zealand, and they had like an amazing summer, and they did some crazy shit. And I mean, they like melted candle wax on the studio floor, and it took forever to get it up. And I'm not even sure how that happened or if anybody got burned. I'm sure they did. Like, she clawed the shit out of his back, and you know, this is nuts. They had a crazy summer, but and this is his story to tell, so I'll tiptoe around some of that stuff. But yeah, she went back to school, and you know, it's funny because when it's not you just sort of hear the lyrics and you know, and I'm singing the lyrics, and I really never thought about how brilliant the halfway around the world and I'm just a day behind really is. And you don't really think about that until you go to Australia, and then you come home and you've got fans the day before New Year's Eve saying, "Oh, it's already 2019 here," you know, and then you're just like, man, that lyric is brilliant, you know, really fucking brilliant lyric. And so, yeah, one of our favorite songs to play, and, you know, I love it because it's the GC and D thing where you can sing any song over it. So a lot of times we'll do the breakdown in the middle where we can sing any song. You know, last few years, obviously, we've been doing like a metal breakdown with Skid Row, or we'll do the Shaggy impression. And, yeah, that's pretty much the story behind it. I mean, he wrote that shit from the heart. It's all real true, and he really did have a single bed in his room. He was living with his mom at the time, and after he had split up with Abby's mom. So this is, you know, he was still a kid, had moved back in with his mom, and they were sharing a single bed, and felt like it was meant for two to him, you know, and so. A very, very cool and heartfelt story that he made up or that he wrote, and one of our most popular songs to this day, and definitely one of our first like songs that people really latched onto, just going, holy shit, this song is so fucking great. Part of, I guess, that story though is maybe I should tell why it's on so many albums, and that reason is that the first time we recorded it, we did it on Rock on Honorable Ones, and on Rock on Honorable Ones, when we did that, it was 2006. There was a lot going on. Holy shit. 6 yawns. There was a lot going on in our kind of music at that point, or even just in rock in general. I mean, Goldfinger were doing really well, Real Big Fish. All of these bands that like were bringing this sort of rock sound, Real Big Fish more like the ska thing. But, you know, when I look at it like Goldfinger, Less Than Jake, these rock bands that sort of had these horns and these elements of that. And we were living in Denton at the time, and this is when we had first moved to Denton and really getting our feet, you know, stuck in the ground there, and where we would set up our roots of Bowling for Soup. But all of our friends, including our original manager Fro, who Goodbye Friend is about, they all played in the North Texas band. North Texas University is in Denton, and it's the biggest jazz school in the country. So maybe the world, I don't know, but it's a big one. And so it was really cool to just have them come in and do horn arrangements to 3 or 4 of the songs. And what was really cool about it is they were coming at it from like a jazz perspective. So our horn arrangements sound a lot different than would, you know, say a Goldfinger thing or a Less Than Jake thing. So that song got recorded with horns on it. And when we got our record deal, our attorney really wanted to hear, no. And then we did Tell Me When to Whoa less than a year later. And we had already signed with our attorney at the time. And he wanted to hear a rock version of Belgium. So we did the rock version of Belgium. And that got re-recorded for that. Then we ended up putting it on Let's Do It for Johnny. So we re-recorded it for that. Then it came Tell Me When to Whoa, and it was like, you know what we ought to do is do a really cool acoustic version of this as the hidden track. So you can see where this is going. It's on 4 albums. So that's when it started to get where we just started to be silly about it. And you got the boy band version on Hangover, and then on Burrito we had the polka version. I think that's all right. But anyway, there's your reason is we started to think it was funny. So then we thought the joke was told and really didn't think people were getting it anymore, and we left it off of an album. And boy, did we get a lot of angry emails about that. People were pissed at us. Like, why is there no, you've ripped us off Bowling for Soup. Like, and you know that's all English people, don't you, Daniel? I want my money back for this album. You've ripped us off again, Bowling for Soup. Damn you. It's just like, we recorded 19.
I'm going to message you on Twitter.
But it was like, I think it was Sorry for Partying, right? It was the first one that we didn't put it on. And we did
No, so you're one behind with everything. So Sorry for Partying was the polka one.
Okay.
And then the next one you didn't put on them.
Got it. Okay.
It was Fishing for... So... Because I remember you talking about it, and there was some talk about it being the major label dropped you, and then you released the album that didn't have Belgium on, and there were so many rumors online because they're not allowed to do it.
Right, that's probably what it was. Yeah.
But I remember you talking about it while you were giving studio updates, saying we're thinking about doing this, and then you ran out of time or whatever it was, and then didn't get done.
That's you remember correctly, because now that you say that, that's right. I mean, we did that record in just a few weeks. I mean, I wrote it in 3 or 4 weeks, and I think we recorded it in 2. And there you go. Now it's Fishing for Woos, because it was basically like we couldn't tour on Sorry for Partying anymore because we had just gotten dropped 4 months after it came out, and they never really released a real single. Which they were supposed to hit hard at radio for No Hablo Inglés right after the turn of the year, and that didn't happen. And because we got dropped in December, and so it was like, well, shit, what are we out here touring for? I mean, we don't have anything to push, nothing to sell really for any reason, and so by May we had a new record done, and so kudos to us. But yes, we did run out of time, and the idea was to do maybe a metal version or something like that, and I think also at that point we were just tired. It'd been a really long few years, and it's like, we were happy with Fishing for Woos. I'm still happy for Fishing for Woos, man. I think it for what that record is and represents and how it was made, it's perfect for the time. And so obviously I'm getting off topic a little bit, but I'll defend any one of our albums to the death. I don't think we've ever made a bad one.
Last thing is always the Q&A from the fan page. I spoke to everyone and said that best thing to do would be to prioritize Warped Tour stuff for this time, because everyone had questions about Warped Tour, and I thought let's get all that in this one rather than have that hangover. Paul Martin asks, what will be your lasting memory of this year's Warped Tour?
I guess my lasting memory of this year's Warped Tour is, honestly, like I said, the camaraderie being back. Daniel can attest to just the fact that, it's the way that it was back in 2003 and 2004 for us, and what we missed in 2007, 10, and even 14 to some extent, and any of the ones where we did just a few shows. It's just bands, the bands that they were having, and the bands that, or the attitude of people during that period. A lot of them kept to themselves. Everybody was more about getting up and working out and all that. And I make fun of the working out thing just because it's an easy bit, but obviously I get it. You're locked on a bus. You want to stay healthy, and just getting out and moving around is fucking difficult out there because it's so hot. So I'm not saying that as a negative thing. I'm just saying it's just of all these other things besides being a community and being a punk rock summer camp and being together. And this year it was so back, man. I mean, it was everybody, we made such close friends with Mayday Parade, and it was nice to reunite with Simple Plan and 303 and Real Big Fish and just, all of these bands, some that we've known forever, some we've known of forever, but just to literally just be hanging out and having a great night every night, man. Just sitting under the stars, under the tent, when it cools off a little bit, cooking some food, having some beers, rolling some dice, telling stories, talking about the future, talking about the past. It's what it needed to be for Bowling for Soup, and I think a lot of the other bands are going to take away that same kind of thing. I mean, I obviously am I'm spoiled by our shows because I'm so so spoiled by our fans and just the longevity that we've been given and how insanely crazy our crowds are and were and hopefully will be. So I could easily say that it was, this show or that, but to me, all the shows were fucking amazing. So it's hard for me to pinpoint one of those to say this is my lasting memory. So my lasting memory is just, again, going to be just that hanging out with, where you've got like 7 bands of different genres and we're all just one big family and sharing a bottle of whiskey and some beers and just, that's one of those things that I think I'll be telling my grandkids about. Like, this is what my life was like, and my son being able to be a part of that, not the drinking part, but the camaraderie. And, you were there. My son was riding around on Simple Plan's mini bikes and shit and like just, fucking with 303's merch girl and, like, you know what I mean? Like just he was part of it. And I think, he'll have that to be like, oh man, my dad, he was on this tour and it was so crazy. There were, 150 buses and just, I'm glad he got to experience that with me, and I'm glad you did, for that matter. I mean, you being one of my closer friends in the world and, like, coming from another country, and you having seen me over there so many times and sort of, like, what it's like for me there, versus, like, coming over here and seeing it, it's just cool. It really is. I honestly, it was a long stint for us, 2.5 weeks, which is, a lot of bands do more than that. I mean, I have 3 kids, 3 dogs, and a wife that I love very much, and I really like my house, and so, like, being gone that long is tougher for me. And, I'm out of shape, and I'm fucking 46, and it's hot, and, whatever, but I could have stayed. I mean, I really could have. I could have kept going, and I haven't been able to say that for a few years, so it was a great summer.
I think on that camaraderie thing, the weirdest moment for me was, I think, day one in Dallas, that Pierre from Simple Plan got on the bus and him and Jaret were just talking, and they were kind of telling old war stories, and oh, do you remember this day, and do you remember this time when we fucking did this, and oh my god, do you remember doing that? And I was just kind of sat there, in the front lounge, and I was like, holy shit, this is like listening to Kerrang have a conversation with itself. This is like listening to my childhood talk to itself about how crazy it was.
Yeah.
It was such a weird thing to sit back and watch, and yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Like, it did just look like watching old friends get together for a party, It was awesome to see. And while we're talking about lasting memories of tour, I would like to point out, because I just realized that I'm trying to discreetly drink whiskey while you're talking, and then I realized I'm glugging this right next to my microphone. So
I was watching the whole thing go down. I was watching it.
And so the point is that your crew have got me drinking this Tullamore Dew. And, oh my god, all the time.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's delicious.
Moving swiftly on, because I'm not drunk. Sophie Carroll asks, what will you miss most about Warped?
As a whole, I will 100% miss the fans. But I know I'll see the fans. This is one of those things where it's hard to explain. It's like well, I mean, I guess it's not. I mean, for UK people and US people and people all over the world alike, you guys know what the difference between a show and a festival. So at a festival, there's, at one point, 15,000 people watching us in a shed, amphitheater. And I'm like, who's going to come see us next time we're here or whatever? And everybody raises their hands. But we all know fucking 1/10 of them is not even coming to see us next time we're here. It's like, it's just nice that you can get all of these people who like all these different genres of music and that you're their choice for that day. So I'll miss those amazing shows. And, like I said, I hate to be redundant, but I'm going to miss that camaraderie. As we sat out there that last night, I was like, this is the last time we're ever going to do this. I mean, I can't think of any time where we'll all be in this sort of situation, because even festivals, in other areas, it's not like that, where like all the bands are parked together and you've all got chairs and stuff and sitting outside and all this. I mean, to an extent that will happen from time to time. I mean, I have my stories about Dimebag Darrell being on our bus and that kind of stuff in the UK. So but it's just to that extent where there's 300 band dudes just and ladies walking around, and just you're all there for the same reason and having a great time. It just those are the two big ones that I'll miss.
Especially within the genre as well. I mean, if you look at something like Download Festival, you are all going to be in that same area, but are you all going to be there on the same day?
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And also, different stages though, so you're parked in different places, and like if you say like a Download, I mean, shit, half the time you have to take a car from where you are to the state, because it's so big. I mean, you're talking about the difference between Download can have 110,000 people, whereas a big Warped Tour is 24,000 people. The difference is Warped Tour moves to another city and does that again the next day, and Download stays put and does that 3 days in a row, So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, and also all of us fly in for that, so we don't have like the kinds of things to just set up like a camp and all of that. But again, it's something special that will be missed for sure.
Cameron Peak says, were there any mess ups or bumps in the road during the Warped Tour?
No. No. I mean, we didn't have, thank God, we didn't have any wacky gear things, or our bus ran fine. No. I mean, we didn't really have anything crazy. I mean, I guess the one thing, and to me this it sounds silly, but we actually sold out of merch in like 3 days. We had no idea the capacity that we were gonna. So we spent the 5th, 6th, and 7th day literally just trying to come up with whatever we could. I mean, we were taking shit that we were gonna, throw out to people or whatever, and putting it up in the booth so we had something to sell. So that was really the only thing where we kind of fucked up a little bit. Everything else is pretty smooth. I mean, I'm lucky. I surround myself with an amazing crew, and and again, we've done this before, and I try to, in college I learned, proper planning prevents pitiful performance. So I try to always be prepared and check and recheck that everybody knows what's up. So, and my manager is amazing at doing that exact same thing, and then his assistant is amazing at doing that same thing. And so, there's a lot of checks and balances in Bowling for Soup. So, luckily, when we do have a situation, it's usually solvable pretty quickly. But we didn't, we did pretty good on this one.
I think the merch thing, and this is not to shit talk any of the other bands, but I walked around those 3 days I was there, and your tent had the biggest queue all the time.
Yeah, us and Mayday. Us and Mayday Parade were were both, we pretty much slaughtered, everybody, and that's amazing for me. That has nothing to do with me, man. That's all the fans, and that's I mean, and we not to say anything about any other bands. A lot of bands go out there and they do their signing and they're there for 30 minutes and they leave or whatever. We go out there and we're there until everybody that's coming is coming. I mean, there's a point towards the end where it's like 20 people deep, and it just kind of, you have the stragglers coming up and they're wanting you to sign the fucking bottom of their shoe and shit, and it's like they've stepped in shit. And, there's that, once you've been out there a couple hours and that starts to happen, we'll close it down. But that has always been Bowling for Soup at Warped Tour. Get out there and meet every single person that wants to say hello to you, because, that's not a given for any band, and it's definitely not something that we would ever take for granted, and not something that any band should ever take for granted. If you're listening and you're in a young band, and somebody interrupting your meal makes you mad because they want a picture with you, then you're in the wrong business. So That's all I can say about that. But yes, we did really, really well in merch and lost a lot of sales over 3 or 4 days. But you live and learn. Sometimes it's just hard to forecast that shit. The big problem is we don't have a lot of stuff coming up in the U.S. after Warped. It's like there's no like real touring plan until next summer. I mean, there's a few things here and there that we're gonna do. So ordinarily you can over order, and then you've got some stuff to sell out there, later. But I don't want 75 boxes of T-shirts sitting in a warehouse, and then that's where what you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be feeding your kids is sitting in boxes in a warehouse. That's a tough part of my job, and I seldom mess up. I actually this is the thing, and I'm being honest, I didn't mess this up, Daniel. I didn't actually place this order. I'm not going to tell you who did, but I delegated and I didn't even look it over. I just like, okay, they know what the fuck they're doing, and I didn't look it over, and now you see why I fucking micromanage everything.
Yep. And I aside from that merch thing, I've got to say I was there for your first 3 shows on the Warped Tour, and day one arriving when smoother than any day in the UK ever.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So, that's a testament to the US and how well everything is run over there.
Well, and I will say that festivals over there are run smoothly and awesomely as well. It's just that, it's just one of those things. It's easier I think to plan for things in your own country because you know where shit is and you know what to do. It's like, for us, it's easy for us to get there the first day and be like, okay, we're taking a Lyft or a Uber to Walmart and we're going to literally buy everything we're going to need for 2 weeks supply-wise. I mean, that's easy. That's hard for us to do in the UK because I don't know that there's one store that has all that. Maybe the bigger Tesco's or something, but I mean, even then, we wouldn't know how to maneuver that. I mean, like, you've been a godsend to us over there because like, okay, guys, there's a place that sells wine, but I have to be there by such and such time, or you're not getting. Before you joined our crew over there, it'd be like we'd wait, and then you'd just be like, sorry, guys, I don't know where I can get any booze. It's like, and then it was a sad night.
Yep, the worst night.
The worst.
Joey Hollinshead says, Rob Felicetti did a great job standing in for Eric, and he's previously stood in for Gary. Is there no end to his talents?
The first thing that Chris said when we started to rehearse that first night was, well, we'll just see next summer, like whether me or Jaret gets the year off next year. And I was just like, this motherfucker better learn to sing a lot higher if he's gonna take my place. And then we got on the tour, and he really did do a great job at, some of Eric's parts are really, really high, and he was just like, you're right, this shit is high. And when I was talking to Joe from Patent Pending about Rob and everything, and I'm just like, he did a fucking amazing job. It's like, I go, I don't think you know how hard our shit is to sing until you actually have to sing it for work. You know what I mean? Like, our shit is not easy, and it's like, I think there's a lot of times where Eric's parts are more complicated than mine because we do a lot of deals where we switch low to high harmonies back and forth together, and that's, because we've been doing it 25 years. Man, Rob stepped in. He did a great job. First show we did, I had like a couple of things and he listened, and it was like little piddly shit. Like, I was just like, just this one thing that you're doing and this other thing that you're not doing, and just because I'm used to hearing it this way. And he did it, and he did amazing. And his bass playing was awesome, and he was energetic and fun and great with the audience and great with the people at the tent. And same as last year when he sat in for Gary when Gary was having a baby. So I cannot say enough nice things about Rob Felicetti and just the vibe that he brought to our summer and how easygoing he was. And we got into this pattern to where him and Gary would Rob started doing this thing where he would take a shower 2 hours before the show, no matter how hot it was outside. And then him and Gary would open their first beer or whatever. And so I would sometimes join them, and sometimes I need a little bit more time. But that it's fucking it's cool. They got into a rhythm and they had their thing, and I saw him talking to Chris Burney a lot. Anytime Chris Burney has like a real conversation with somebody, they're in. So he did a really good job.
Lucy Murray asks, is Warped Tour better when it's extremely hot or when it's raining?
Both suck. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'm not opposed to rain. It's not that I hate the rain. It's that, like, rain when it's really hot just makes it humid, and then, like, it's not like we have 7 pairs of shoes on the road with us, and then it's also not like. So then your shirt gets wet, and then you have to play the show, and it's hot as fuck on stage because it's so humid out there. That's miserable. But the heat is just as bad. Man, they both suck. I mean, I'll say this: no band on Warped Tour is ever going, man, this is a really fucking nice day. we did have one day, I think, where it was only like 85 or something like that, and I remember just thinking, this is fucking glorious, man. Like, this is the happiest ever. But man, when you get into that porta potty and it's 105 degrees outside and you have to take a shit and it doesn't come right out, I'm telling you, that is. And I'll tell you what's worse is when you have to shit and there's somebody else in there shitting, and just that wait, like standing there waiting with your toilet paper and your butt wipes, and it's just so humiliating, and you just feel like such a savage because they open the door and they hold it for you, and then you've got to go in there and shit on top of their shit. And it's just, and then when you come out, there's another guy waiting on you, and it's just humiliating, and you just feel terrible about yourself. And, that's the best part of getting home, is just sitting on your own toilet, putting that squatty potty under you, and just sitting there for an hour and a half.
Just to express a couple of things to UK fans, especially people who go to Download every year. Firstly, it rained while we were in Houston. It was like a horrible tropical thunderstorm. It was the worst thing we've ever seen. And the entire festival was evacuated. You know how we stand and watch Ozzy Osbourne in the rain and we just accept it? Well, they just all left, and they all went to a stadium across the road, and they all went inside until the rain stopped, and then they came back out.
Well, that
it was the weirdest shit.
That was because of lightning, though. Because if there's light, because we have insane storms here, people will stand in the rain and watch some shit. But lightning, what happens is it becomes a liability for the promoter and for the Warped Tour themselves. So they have to stop. I mean, otherwise, if they keep going and somebody gets struck by lightning and dies, they're liable for it. But I was just as impressed with you as for the rain and them evacuating it, the fucking everybody waiting in the fucking stadium or whatever. But and then coming out. I mean, I agree with you.
The thing with Download, though, is there's nowhere to put 90,000 people if there's a thunderstorm. There's nowhere. That's just tough shit. You shouldn't have come here to this field.
Right. No,
the other thing,
I don't disagree.
The other thing for people who attend Download is toilets. Well, porta potties at Warped Tour. It's not like we have where you go and then you flush it and it goes under the plastic and then you don't have to look at it anymore. You just shit into a blue puddle of chemical, and then the next person comes in and they shit on your shit, and that happens all day in that heat, and it just sits there and you just look at it. And if you want to pee, you go in, and if you're a bloke and you stand up to pee, then you just stand and you just look at it, and it's all there like a mountain, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen ever.
Well, some of them have a little urinal like to your left when you walk in.
So I realized that on day 3.
See, I was wondering why. I'm like, well, no, you don't have to do that, Daniel. You don't have to pee on everybody else's shit. But no, you chose to do that, sir. You fucking didn't know about the urinal.
It's not clear that's the urinal. That's not clear.
It really is just horrible. I mean, they're made for like, again, they're temporary shitters. But, oh, man, just brutal. Brutal.
Grant Hill asks, what was the funniest moment of the Warped Tour?
Oh, man, funniest moment of the Warped Tour. Well, we did this bit where we did this. I cannot remember the city, but this guy had this like a blow up doll on him or whatever, and we ended up naming it and had the audience chanting for it. But we had her staged. We had her crowd surf like up to us, and then we did like a whole bit of comedy about it. If you've seen us at Download, it's similar to what we've done with sheep and bananas and shit. You know, it's just improv comedy based upon whatever the hell it is floats upon the stage, and. But the thing is that the thing started out with this one dude, and the guy like moved around the crowd as we're like doing shit with it, and like at the end of the show, it like ended up with the same guy somehow, and it was just sometimes a show will just work and it just comes full circle. But man, just the laughs that night, we had just the best time, and really really funny show, and I think the audience definitely thought it was funny too, and we were. Right after that really, really heavy band that were only on a few shows. I can't think of what they're called, but it was really, really good timing for that.
Last Warped Tour themed question comes from Sophie Hughes, known dickhead, who who asks, who was the best guest on Warped Tour, her or me?
You guys are both lovely. You walked to the store and got us Taco Bell, and you guys were both awesome. Sophie was.
I would like to clarify, we didn't go to get Taco Bell for you. We were just there, and I texted Timmy and said, "Do you want anything?"
Yeah, and then what he said?
So,
yeah, bring us 40 burritos and 40.
Yeah. So I say to Sophie, "Oh man, I feel kind of bad. Do you think we should ask if anybody wants anything?" And she says, "Yeah, we probably should." And I'm like, "Right, I'm just gonna text Timmy. I'm not gonna ask anyone else. I'm just gonna ask Timmy. He's gonna say no. It's gonna be fine." And then he's like, "Yeah, can you get me 20 of these, 20 of these, 20 of these?" We held up a Taco Bell for 40 minutes. We just kept listening to the staff say, "I'm sorry, we have a 40 order wait. You're gonna have to." And I was like, "Oh, this is so embarrassing."
And that shit was gone in like 10 minutes. It was crazy how fast that shit went. That is what will happen on that. But what happens is that happened, and it was like guests. It was the end of the day. There's guests coming on and off or whatever, and then like I walked up there and like all of the bean burritos were gone, and it was just like son of a bitch. And then you got to fucking fight for your shit on that bus if it's guest time. But yes, Sophie, you were lovely. It was actually nice to sit and just have a beer with you and chat. We had fun talking underneath the tent. A couple of nights actually, me and Sophie just kind of hung out and chatted. So I never don't remember that I've ever gotten the chance to do that. So it was great. I'm so glad you guys were able to come. It was really fun.
Yeah, that was great. Moving on from Warped Tour, but sticking with festivals, Nick Bartlett asks, what was the idea behind the giant sheep at Download?
Well, what happened is we one year so we've done Download many times, and one year, and I don't quite remember the year. Earlier, somebody had brought a blown up sheep, and the blown up sheep was floating around. The little you get as like a gag gift or whatever. They're like little, and they float around and shit. So. We did a whole bit with that thing. I think we fucked it with a banana on stage and like named it and shit, and it had some stuff written on it, and I just made a whole part of the show about that. Well, the next year we came on tour, and we just had like all of these blow up sheeps at our tour. Like people were just throwing them on stage and shit. It's like obviously it had made an impact. So we had to one up that, and so the next year we came with the 2 9-foot blow up sheep. And the funny thing is that every year something would happen after that. So then the next time we brought them, Chris found a blow-up banana and tried to recreate the first time that we had it. And he killed one of the sheep accidentally with the banana, and so it wouldn't inflate anymore. So then we were down to 1. So then the last time we were there, which I think is 2014, we actually had a knight dress up in full-on fucking like knight gear and come, and we sacrificed it. And but... yeah, it's funny how that all snowballed from one little gag gift sheep that had a little hole in its little behind that it's supposed to be hilarious, and it was hilarious, and all of that escalated and gave us material for 4 or 5 Warped Tours, and not Warped Tours, downloads, and every single time we made the review in like all of the magazines and shit because of that. So definitely one of those things where it's just like, oh, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Michael Bryce asks, how do you choose when Eric takes vocal on an album track? And he also says, keep doing it, please. It's great.
When he takes the lead vocal, I assume. Most of the time, it's just the way that I write the song. If I can write it to where he could have a part that he can sing his own, it's very much a conscious thing, and it's sort of like when the song needs that second thing. But no, I'm a big fan of that too, and I wish I did that more. I kind of got out of the habit of that for a few records when I was really writing more like, super like more, I don't know what you want to call it, but like just more straightforward rock songs. But then, on the last record or whatever, we had a couple of songs I think where he takes that role. So no, man, great. Thank you for that feedback. And I 100% agree. I like when he sings on his own.
Yeah, let's make this the last one. And anyone else who asked a question at some point, it will get read eventually, and we'll move on. Steve Rice asks, with Christmas being 4 months away, are there any plans for a Volume 3?
I don't think I'll have time to get a Volume 3 out because I've never gotten these out in good time. I'd like to do something for Christmas this year. It's funny, Bowling for Soup has R2, and I was in another band for a little while called People on Vacation. We did a Christmas record that's really, really good. And so I like writing those kinds of songs. And so I don't know. Maybe we'll do like a Christmas single or something. That could be cool. And I know that you guys are big on Christmas there as well as we are here. So maybe that's a thought. So maybe I could get like 1 or 2 songs done and just kind of put those out in anticipation of Volume 3. But to be honest, Steve, if I'm being completely it's forthcoming, to get a Christmas record out right, I'd need to be recording it in like May or June, and it's just been so nutty. But on my mind for sure, something that we think about all the time. I'd actually like to do a Volume 3 where I put everything on one thing, and obviously I know rebuying it would suck, but I would make the price reflect like whether you'd had it before or not, like $6.99 or something like that, where it's just like one. It's just weird having. Because Volume 1 is on Volume 2. So should Volume 2 be on Volume 3? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's fucking confusing. What the fuck?
They do that shit. They do that shit with Disney films all the time.
Yeah.
Fucking do it.
You're right. Fucking do it, right?
Yeah. I would just like to say to Steve Rice, because he's just said in the fan page that he would love to see the videos of behind the scenes or bloopers of this podcast. I would just like to say to Steve and everyone actually that there are no behind the scenes or bloopers of the show. We pretty much put it out exactly as is. The only bloopers there are is when we first connect and either me or Jaret says you're too loud or
right.
I can hear myself or something like that. And then the only other thing is after we have Fiona call in, that Jaret hangs up on both of us every single time, and then he has to call me back.
I didn't do that today, though. I didn't.
He didn't do that today because he let Fiona hang up, and that was, he's learning.
I am.
He's evolving.
I'm trying to figure this thing out, as best I can. But no, there's not. We don't really have. I mean, we sometimes talk for like a few minutes. We talked business today, actually, before we had to talk transportation for September. So, and then it was just like, okay, let's go, and we started in. It's like, and Daniel, dude, thanks for always doing this and for being so good at organizing it all and shit, man. This is a fun podcast, and I really do look forward to it. So I until next month. I guess next month we'll do it after my tour and talk about that. And you know what? Maybe we could do one on the tour. I know we tried to do that on the Bowling for Soup tour, but since the acoustic tour is so much more low key, depending on the dressing room situations or whatever, maybe we could do a quick one there, and then maybe just do 2 episodes, then do a wrap up of it all. But that might be fun. We should think about that.
Let's see. I'm not going to commit to anything.
Okay, understood.
Thanks for listening, guys. This has been episode 6 of the BFS fan page Rampage. I am Daniel Cotton from Twitter. If you Google Daniel Cotton from Twitter, all one word, you'll be able to find my Facebook, my blog. I've just started today an Instagram. Please go and follow that. Apparently, it's easier to get people to look at your shit on Instagram than Facebook without paying. So please do that, because I don't want to pay for anyone to see my blog. That'd be the best. Jaret, anything to plug?
Go check out Daniel's blog for sure. It's a very serious blog about mental health, but it's a amazingly enlightening blog and very real on his not only on Daniel's journey through all of the things that mental health have been as far as his impacting his life, but he interviewed me last time, and if you want to hear a little bit more of an elaborate description of some of my shit, feel free to go, and I talk about the weight and all that stuff. So it's a good read. So go check out his blog. Follow me everywhere, Jaret2113. Make sure, obviously, if you're not a member of the BFS fan page, go search Bowling for Soup fan page on the Facebooks and join that shit. And, man, fucking A. We did it again, Daniel.
We did it. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks for listening. See you next time. Or you can listen to us next time. Bye.